Welcome to Beyond the Books podcast. I am your host, Susan Stotterell. Season 2, Episode 12 is entitled An Epidemic of Book Ban Requests in Wisconsin Public Schools. I'd like to begin by reading this quote to you by Oscar Wilde. The books that the world calls immoral are the books that show the world its own shame. Please keep that in mind as you listen to the rest of the podcast. An article in the Wisconsin Watch reported that 25% of Wisconsin's 421 public school districts received requests for book bans. Only 2 districts received 0 requests. A few came from concerned parents within the district, but the majority came from conservative groups and super requesters. Super requesters are those individuals who challenge 15 or more titles simultaneously. At least 14 districts received requests from members of organized conservative groups. Many districts received requests from people using a pre-compiled list of books from national political groups such as Moms for Liberty, No Left Turn in Education, Mass Resistance, and Parents' Rights in Education. Other pre-compiled lists used came from large national groups such as booklooks.org and ratedbooks.org. 11 super requesters made almost 75% of the requests. Some had no children in the district. In almost 60 cases, the school district didn't own the book. Super requesters also used lists compiled by parents in other states, such as from iowamamabears.com and an anonymous list they called Parents' List of Sexually Explicit Content. Requests included such classics as Slaughterhouse-Five, The Bluest Eye, and The Handmaid's Tale. Bestsellers such as A Game of Thrones, The Kite Runner, and 50 Shades of Grey. And as far-fetched as Hillary Clinton's It Takes a Village and Anne Frank's The Diary of a Young Girl. By far, the most frequent requests were for books about sex, LGBTQ+, and racial themes. The requesters were often involved in politics. At least 849 inquiries and formal challenges to books came from a school board member or candidate, another local politician, or someone otherwise heavily involved in local conservative activism. Conservative media also played a role in requests for removal in at least 12 districts. On July 20th, 2023, a Libs of TikTok post received over 875,000 views after it claimed Kimberly Area School District offered This Book is Gay to students. The district superintendent learned about it only when questioned by a state representative. Upon examination, the district owned no physical copies of the book. There was one online copy in a library consortium that serves 250 school districts. Nobody had ever borrowed the book. If someone feels they might be LGBTQ, they need access to books about that. So do those that do not identify that way, so that they may come to understand what their life is like. For those who are adamant that those books are trying to convert straight people, think again. I personally have known and been friends with people of each of those letters. I can promise you that nobody says, I think I'll choose to be gay, or I'm in the wrong body, so I'm going to have the very painful surgeries just for the fun of it. Wisconsin has one of the largest achievement gaps in the nation between white and Black students. Blacks have lower graduation rates, lower standardized test scores, higher rates of infant mortality, chronic diseases, and lower life expectancies, less likely to own homes, face higher rates of eviction, and housing instability. More likely to be arrested, convicted, and incarcerated, and households earn much less. Black students need access to books that address their concerns and pique their interest as Black people, such as The Bluest Eye and Beloved by Toni Morrison. Stamped for Kids, Racism, Anti-Racism, and You, adapted from Ibram X. Kendi's History of Racism. Sexual abuse is not uncommon. However, Wisconsin health data shows that the rate of emergency visits for sexual violence injuries to Black patients is 3.2 times higher than white patients. The Bluest Eye deals with sexual abuse within the Black community. It's not uncommon, and victims often can't talk about it, sometimes for many years. So, if these books are banned from libraries, where can victims find comfort when they are unwilling or unable to talk to a therapist? In July 2022, a school board objected to When the Emperor Was Divine by Julie Otsuka, a novel on internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. The decision prompted criticism from many groups and the author. A petition with 362 signatures called for the book's approval. I would have gladly signed it. Across the state line into Colorado, there were remains of a Japanese internment camp visible from the highway. My mother and grandmother once discussed it in front of me when I was about 7 or 8 years old. Americans took potshots at the walls with rifles and shotguns at the old and women and children. Even at that age, I thought it was cowardly, disturbing, racist, and immoral. People dismissed it as normal. Otsuka's book might have helped me deal with something I couldn't express. Library specialists and district administrators purchase these books based on the book's alignment with curriculum and state standards, the readability and appeal of text to diverse students, the grade level appropriateness, the significance and reputation of a book's author, popular appeal, and reviews from sites such as Scholastic and Common Sense Media. These requests take a terrible emotional toll on those who must handle them. Library specialists and district administrators' jobs have become dealing with these requests. Meanwhile, the special requesters copy somebody else's list. I would guess that most have not even looked inside the books they want banned. They take someone else's word for it. The profession suffers as more teachers and librarians leave early, harming students. I would like to end this podcast with the same quote I had at the beginning. The books that the world calls immoral are the books that show the world its own shame. Perhaps this is why book banning is so popular now. That's all for today. I'm Susan Stodderell, and I hope you will join me again on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, either on my website or YouTube.